So this is just another off the record where we're just having a conversation. And I'm super excited because I was just about to tell you about the last conversation I just had with a girlfriend, Michelle. We were talking about human design and how it has really unlocked something for each of us in the simplicity of giving us permission to live life how we are designed versus just trying to follow other people's blueprints. I'm curious, how much are you into human design? You know anything about it? Am I geeking out by myself right now?
And you're geeking out a little bit by yourself, but I know a hair. And what's funny is that I'm actually going to a women's retreat tomorrow that was talking about like our design blueprint, etc. But bring me up to speed on what you guys were talking about a little bit so I can follow along.
Yeah, I here, I'll show you. I was doing on human we literally share my screen real quick. We're going into we were here in Chat GPT where human design, I basically went and answered a couple questions on a human design thing and spit out all this stuff that I had no idea what it meant. And so I just said, "Hey chat, tell me more about this." So it kicks out all this information. A lot of these words don't make any sense. But what it did tell me is things like this. If I keep going down, it gives me something like this: core themes for me. I thrive in cycles of death and rebirth. So I have a lot of identity shifts. That's always been something for me. My moods are spiritual weathering. So I don't try and force my moods. I allow them to just guide me through things and trust it now. My intimacy is catalytic. People fall in love with me, not just intimately, but as friends really fast. I think we're seeing that, which
Yeah,
is not a bad thing, but it does mean that I become people's lesson a lot of times. And if it falls out, it'll be very heartbreak. And it's like it feels deep because the love is deep.
sure.
But this is just, it helps me understand that's just who I am. Your energy is powerful, but it's not endless, which is something else. Is like, I'm not a 9 to 5er. I'm not meant to do the same thing every day consistently over and over, but I can sprint and do a lot more than most, but then I need time for rest. So I have to like pace myself versus following other people's traditional paces. And when I speak, it awakens other people. And it is really, really a lot of what I see patterns throughout my human design is that I'm just here to alchemize people, to activate people, to like help them find themselves. I also think human design's fun for things like this, like the shadow, like what's the opposite?
Hmm.
And like things like I need to be very careful with how much access to myself that I give to people. I tend to give too much or I burn out because I'm trying to keep up with so many different things all at once.
Sure.
My emotional lows usually come with me self-doubting myself or something's not happening. I'm not seeing progress. And so that's what my emotional lows are tied to. And I tend to try and force timelines. And I know you've heard this year is my motto is what's meant for me will be. And I'm just releasing and relaxing more. But we were just talking about how it can be so insightful to utilize tools like this to be able to learn more about yourself
Yeah.
because it's very insightful to like get to look at all of this and go, okay, so mine talks a lot about live a story, learn something, and then share it.
Mm.
And so I know that when I create social media content, it's the easiest and most effortless for me. It's usually me whipping out my phone after I just experienced something and saying, "Oh my gosh, next time," blah, 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 and like have a life lesson and then just like boop, 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 post and done. And other people will be like, "How do you do that? Where do you come up with the idea? How did you pick the background? How did you?" I'm like, "I just pulled my phone out. Like, what are you?" It's my human design.
Hmm.
Other people have different human design. They can edit for 10 hours straight. I cannot. I can work for 3 to 4 really hard, really good, but then I need a break. I need to go move my body and then I can come back. And I used to think like I was broken. I'm
Mm.
like, why can't I be like everyone else? 75+% of the world are the energetic type. I believe it's called manifesting generator. And so they're someone who can do the same thing every day on repeat for 9 to 5 hours, like 9 to 5 hours for 8 hours plus, right?
It feels like 95 hours just for
But I just it's gives us it's kind of like taking personality tests, like a
Mhm.
disc test or Myers Briggs, and just learning more about yourself. I just find that human design is a little bit more woo-woo, and that's my style. So, hey, why not?
No, I love that. And I think that, so over the summer, took like a personality test. I hadn't heard of it before, but Kathy Martin, developed this. She's fantastic, but it's more about like colors and
Ooh.
what color do you identify with, and not
Mhm.
which one do I like the most, because like I'm a hot pink girl, but like, is structure important to you, or people important to you, etc. And I'll learn how to speak for you on a podcast. That's important. But I felt like I'd done other personality tests before, but that one was different in the sense that it gave you a little bit more permission to be yourself and how to best interact with others. And it was like almost kind of like a weight getting off your shoulders of like, oh, that explains X, Y, and Z, versus demonizing, or oh, you're so weird, or you live by checklists or what have you. It was like, no, that's who I am, and that's okay. Now that I know that, let's go from there. So I love that you're talking about this. I haven't taken a human design test, but look who will be this afternoon.
I think you should. I know that I have a partner who needs multiple convincers of things and often takes a lot. And I asked him, "Hey, do I have consent to look up your human design?" And he's like, "What does that mean?" And I was like, "All I need to know is what time you were born. I already know where you were born and when you were born. That's all you need: birthday, location, time." And unfortunately, we couldn't find a birth certificate that had an exact time, and neither of his parents are surviving anymore. And so it's like, it's hard to find that information. So, but we still put it in with the general 12:01, right? 12:01 a.m. on that day. He's like, yeah, look it up. But if it's just generic, like if it's just going to be like really generic, whatever, I'm not going to buy into that stuff. And he had stonewalled me. And I was like, okay, let's see what this gets back. So I took his human design. I went on, I typed it all in. They email you the results. I took screenshots of those results and put it into ChatGPT. And I was like, hey, chat, tell me more about this person. And so it started to list out these things. I tell you, he was telling me constantly, oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's so true. Oh my goodness. And like the whole way he would not stop making these noises. And I'm laughing to myself thinking, yeah, that's what I felt like when I read mine too.
That's
And
so
so
cool.
he's like sitting there laughing and he's like, yeah, that's right. This does motivate me. That is where my why comes from. That is my purpose. These are lessons I've had. And it can be so insightful to have someone who is very much like I'm Mr. Science. I need to like, it needs to make sense.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, well, it is science. It does, make sense. And I always leave room for the magic, right? Even if it isn't real, like I say this all the time, there's plenty of people on this planet who are negatively delusional, right? They hold this delusion that the world is crumbling and we're going to burn and if they're allowed to be negatively delusional, allow me to be positively delusional. And if this is going to help me be delusional in a way that's going to benefit my life and help me impact other people along the way, I think it's okay.
So good, Jayna. That's like seriously one of the biggest reasons why I love you. Positively delusional. Yes, 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 yes. Like, and in a world of so much negativity, we need a little bit more Jayna,
Right.
basically.
Right. Yeah. I mean, why not? You know, I'm only hurting the world by not being me. Same thing goes with you, Julie, and same thing goes with whoever's listening to this right now. It's like the world needs more you.
Yeah.
The reason that we outlearn ourselves, meaning we start to have all of these people, parents, teachers, people around us, our friends that influence us to believe, well, I've got to wear this. I need to look like that. I need to act like this or talk like that or drive this car, live in that neighborhood, right? All of these small decisions along the way, they're coming from influences outside of us because we're tribal beings. We want to be accepted. We don't want to be abandoned. We don't want to be by ourselves. And so we continue to change. So I find that I'm in a space where anyone that's around me, I help them take those layers off and recognize, like, where did that come from? Who'd you get that from? Because that's not you. It's not yours. Ultimately, life is easy and effortless when we are in alignment. And alignment is just us essentially living our human design, living our dharma, living our purpose, whatever the terms are that you use. I find that people struggle and have resistance and have issues over and over and over. And if you're in loops of just perpetual pain, that's because you're not in alignment. You're not
Yes.
following what you're meant to be doing. And the moment you step into it, it's like, oh, this is easy. It's like,
Yes.
wow, is it really this easy the whole way? Yeah, it was. We chose our discomfort.
Well, and that's, man, I've been really writing the book and more reflection of taking personal responsibility. But I think that's the other step. Yes, taking personal responsibility, but then finding your, what you said, true purpose, whatever you want to call it, calling, etc., of where you're meant to be, because then you're in a flow state. And I meet so many people day in and day out, typically in the finance conversation, but it pours over to everything else. You can sense the energy even through Zoom, even through podcasts. And it's so sad to see so many people who are just stuck or frustrated, but typically it's because they haven't dug deep into what makes them happy. They haven't even paused to think about when the last time it was that they were happy.
Yeah.
And whew, you're always so inspirational. I always think like I'm doing pretty good, and then I talk to you and I'm like, yes, get them, girl.
Well, I mean, it's just life. It's just things happen and they stick with me because they have an emotional impact. Like it makes me think of my partner. He's highly successful. Most people would look at him and be like, "Oh, dream life. You've got a beautiful girlfriend. You've got no." I'm just kidding.
But he does.
He is very metrically on
Mhm.
paper very highly successful. And if you were to sit down and have a deep enough conversation with him, you would recognize he is not living his dreams, right? He is living the means to an end to be able to be the provider he has built himself to be for all of the people that are around him. He has like 23 employees. That's 23 different families that now rely on him and his business to be able to pay for their own children to go to school, their own, that's pressure, right? That's not something that he built out of a dream. That's something he built out of a necessity, right? So he built himself in this space. We were watching a YouTube video once of these people who they like found this old beat up, it was like a boat, like a catamaran that they found during a hurricane. And they spent 2 years fixing this thing up. And as they're dropping it into the water, about to sail off into the sunset to go like live their dreams, right? He's been watching all these videos, so he's like emotionally tied. And on the back of the boat just reads this one thing, and it said, "Die with memories, not dreams."
Oof.
Oh, this man is bawling his eyes out, and he just looks at me, these water-filled eyes, and goes, "I don't even know what my dreams are."
Oof.
Don't get to that point.
Mhm.
Don't get to that point to where everybody looks at you and goes, "Your life's amazing." And you look at your spouse and go, "I don't know that I'm living the life that I want to be living."
Yeah.
Like that, I can still see there's 85, not 90% of this man who's proud of himself, who loves what he's built, who it's his baby because he knows he gets to provide for these people. And I see the 10%. I see the 10% that wishes he could have the freedom that I allow myself because I essentially build a business based on my purpose because I didn't want to end up like that. I've been watching him for 10 years going, that's not what I want. So anytime I feel even remotely close to that in my business, I'm like, I don't care if it's making me money. I'm not doing it.
Right.
I'm only doing the things that essentially I just follow my excitement now.
Mhm.
And people call it passion. That's one way of looking at it. Like I follow my excitement. If it's exciting to do, I will sit down for hours and just, if it's not, I will literally maybe have a whole day of like cleared calendar, have all the things I need, but literally will be fighting to keep my eyes open. My body is shutting down because my body is telling me, no, girlfriend, not best use of your energy.
Right.
And it's like, oh, you won't stop doing it? Let me just put you to sleep. It's like, put you to sleep.
Well, and that's so funny because I'm circling back to a couple of things where I'm like, oh yeah, I was in that exact same spot working on underwriting, or I was exact same spot working on something else. And what's interesting is that I think a lot of times we think, oh, we have to do that because it's part of our business or it's part of the goal or we've been assigned that. Maybe, and maybe for a short amount of time if it's a means to the end, but like not necessarily, because there's someone out there who gets energized and excited from doing that work. So, I mean, bare minimum, like let's take that off of our plate and support the economy by having someone else take that role for us.
Yeah.
Or like maybe we should pay attention and just know that however that's going to get done, it is not by me. Maybe it's AI, maybe it's an assistant, maybe it's an employee, what have you. But then I can actually use my gifts and my energy for what I was born to do.
Yeah.
And I think too many, especially women, I don't want to just, but there's men too, but especially women try to take so much on. Like, no, I get validity from being the one that can do it all.
Yeah.
No, get validity from being happy and whole and thriving, not killing yourself slowly from saying yes to every single little thing.
Yeah. It's like there is truly someone out there who's passionate about everything. Like I'm not passionate about taxidermy, but there is someone out there who gets up every day so excited because they found new roadkill that they get to turn like taxidermy. They get to do something with. They make movies about these people, Julie. It has to be real. Like it's got to come from somewhere. All that to say, in an extreme level, like yeah, there's something for everyone. There are people who get so excited about it. Leave space for that. I had
Mhm.
a role I stepped into about a year and a half ago where I worked for 2 years with 30 different clients to get the skills necessary to land this role as a speaker for this company, only to get on that stage and 6 months in go, oh, this is not for me. This is for someone else. This is someone else's ideal position. And there were certain things, and I was like, mm-mm.
Which I can't encourage those who are not Jayna to pause and say, where am I at in life?
Yeah.
And is that me in any area? Because I think a lot of us feel that. But then we're like, no, we went to school for 4 years to do this, or 10 years, or no, this was my dream. What happens when you get to your dream and it's nothing that you want? Well, you kind of feel committed. You
Yeah.
feel crazier, like you let people down because you pivoted. No, your only job in this life is to be happy and healthy. And it's okay to change plans every once in a while. It really is.
Yeah. That's the sunk cost fallacy, right? Is like we think, oh, I put 2 years into that. I put at over 500 hours into practice. I had paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to get all these certifications to gain the knowledge. I had the role that everybody else wanted. Everybody's looking. I made more money than I had ever made in my life at that point. I was traveling the country. I'm literally, Julie, check the box, check the box, check the box, check the box. And my body was like, no,
Mm-hmm.
this ain't it. And it was so hard to look at. The biggest box that I can check as far as sacrifices that would not have made sense and were sunk cost going into this to get the role, I let go of 13 years of me building social media. I let go of 3 full podcasts, an Instagram channel that I had gone viral to 20 million people, and built an audience of over 11,000 active, super highly engaged people that I let all go because I thought that stage was the right next move.
Right.
And that in itself was like, well, think about me then. Should I quit this stage? But I gave up all of that for this. I can't go back.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. And then I gave it up and then I was like petrified. I'm like, what now? Like, where do I go now? I had committed 10 years of my life to that in the sense that I had already envisioned the next 10 years of my life. And I'm very intentional with envisioning practices. So for 2 years, I had envisioned the following 10 years of my life being on that stage. I was grieving the loss of a future I wasn't going to get. And it's like, oh shit. Okay. I also had to lose an entire community of people surrounding that company because they're so tight knit that I was like, I have to now lose all these friends because there's no way to maintain that. I have maybe 3 good close people from there that I still have maintained, and it's a dance. It's a dance. And it's like all of this to say it was a very hard decision that most people in my position would not have done. They would have just kept getting the money, kept showing up, kept doing the thing, and called it a day.
And
And
woken up 10 years later saying, what did I just do?
yeah.
And now you're
And
10 years older, less opportunity.
yeah.
I mean,
And not only that, it probably wouldn't have taken 10 years to knowing me and knowing my story, my body enough. When I'm not in alignment for a long enough period of time, I get sick. I develop disease. I develop symptoms that are usually quite painful, either cysts on my vulva or my eyes swelling shut. So I don't necessarily want those symptoms to come back. So this is where I like push myself to become super aware,
yeah.
right? Becoming aware, like you said, take that moment to just pause and just say, let me I used to do this activity where I drew a circle on my page and I would, draw some lines in it to create 6 different boxes. You can argue this, but there are about 6 areas of life, right? You get your health and fitness, your intimacy and relationships, your family, you've got your like your spirituality or religion, right? You've got your personal growth or your mental and emotional health. And then I'm missing one, but something else. There's something else. Oh, career. Sorry, money.
Yeah.
Duh. I'm talking to the money, girl. Money. So you have these 6 areas, and I would essentially sit down. It used to be on a weekly basis, then it became a monthly basis, and now it's a just touch base whenever. But it gave me the habit of checking in with each area, and I would label myself from 0 to 10. Where was I in this area? Sometimes it was a 4. I was really struggling in money for a while there, and I was like 4, 4. And not just how much money is in my bank account, but how well am I being a steward of the money?
Right.
Because I can be a great money manager, but be in a tight position because I highly risk some money for a little bit, right? Like I don't define that as being a bad money manager anymore just because I have low numbers. I might have risked something up front and been paying off in the long term. Who knows? But going through and intentionally asking myself, where am I? Health and fitness, be honest with yourself, girlfriend, where are you? I'm an 8
Right.
right now. Okay, cool. And then you come back in a week or a month and you're like, oh, I'm a 9 now. Yes, I started doing more dance classes. Great. And I get to, and then you can track yourself in each area of life. And I feel like pausing like that brings us that awareness. And most people, they just get so caught up in the day to day.
So I've been using, it's funny that you mentioned that because I've been using the high performance planner on and off for 3 years, 4 years maybe. And I took a break because honestly, I kind of started like cheating it. I was like, this is the answer that I give every day. Right. And I just went back to it 2 weeks ago. And what's so interesting was you pause and you look at all those same areas of your life. I was scoring myself. I'm like, man, I nailed it on the family thing this week. Like I got to see my in-laws, I got to see my parents, like got to see my stepdaughter. Everything's great. Business kind of sucked. Personal development kind of sucked, but man, killed it. And then I was like, okay, go through a whole nother week after that. Just it's time to reflect on where I'm at, where are my priorities. And then you know what? Nailed it in family, business, finance, physical fitness, working out every day. Everything's great. And then it was like friends and social. I was like, eesh, what friends? I did a haha on Jayna's Instagram post. So does
I was going to say, I'm your friend. Hey, we're hanging out.
like I'm like, oof, other than that, yikes. Like I didn't even try. And just what made me pause and think about it, I was like, that was 2 weeks in a row that I was hyper focused in one area of my life, but like totally disregarding the rest of it. So if we're not careful, I mean, how many weeks could go by where we aren't intentional with our spouse? We aren't intentional with our kids. We aren't intentional with our business. Like, and you just wake up one day and you're like, shoot, it's New Year's Eve again.
Ooh, that's right around the corner.
Right. So, I mean, I would encourage everyone that's listening to this, like maybe pause. And yes, this is a story about Jayna and Julie, but this is more a story about you. Where, when was the last time you paused and either made your circle or a planner to assess everything in your life? Wealth isn't financially rich. Wealth isn't a bunch of time. Wealth is balanced: faith, family, fitness, finance, fun. Like,
Yeah.
take a moment.
And you need a scorecard, right? You
Yes.
need to like take a peek. And that was my biggest problem for a long time with finances was I would just not look as like the stick your head in the sand. Like if I don't look at it, it doesn't get lower. That is a lie. That is a lie. In fact, it can go lower even faster because you're not paying attention. So like every
It's like the
day,
scale. If you don't get on it, you don't actually weigh anything, right? Like,
you know, it's
no.
been the greatest. Mine's been broken for about 6 months.
You need a scorecard. You need to, whether you like the results or not, that takes you
Yes.
from anxiety to fact. And what are the next steps? And I personally have dealt with anxiety probably the last 20 years. I'm not old enough to have dealt with anxiety for 20 years. Okay. Let's just not even pretend I did math on that. Just kidding. But
Strength at 2, I get it, you know.
yeah, but the unknown causes more harm than where are we actually at and what's the plan?
That's exactly what like light bulb switch for me was being around someone who I knew was very wealthy, very good with his money. And it wasn't me that asked, but I had brought another friend of mine around this group of people. I tend to like to introduce people to networks that they otherwise wouldn't access.
Sure.
And she asked, hey, what's one habit that you have that I can adopt that would help me in my financial journey? And he said, look at your money every day. And she was like, well, it scares me and this and that. And he goes, you know what should scare you more is not knowing what's in there. And he goes, but when you wake up every day and you see it, even if it incrementally grows by 1 penny, you get to celebrate that. Look at it every day. And he was just being so clear about, even if it goes down, you know it's going down. Like, just look at it every day. And like, he was just so that's what stuck, was like, yeah, the uncertainty of not knowing. And then of course the bill hits out of nowhere that you signed up for last year, and you pay that, I'm going to pay annually because it's cheaper. It's like, yeah, and then you forget about it and it's slapped on the one week you don't. Don't let yourself be there, right? Like, allow yourself the certainty of being able to track your money. And sometimes it's not just like looking at a bank account number overall. It's like having some sort of tracking system. I'm sure you're a spreadsheet girly. I'm sure you're someone who's like, I use Notion for mine. And so it's like a lot of like just being able to track what's happening. And for me, it's not just the tracking, it's the taking the time to actually input the information. I can automate a lot of things, but taking the time to actually input it. I used to do it on paper. Now we're digital. We're growing. I hear people use AI to help them with their finances. I don't know that I want to mess with that just yet, but we're off paper. We are digitalizing, but the idea of like handling your money, even if it's digital money, handle it by typing it in. I used to have a paper when I had a cleaning business and I was paid in checks. I used to have like this paper I laminated, and it would be, I'd write like the total check I received, and then at the time I would just round it out, and I took 20% and would put it out into an account for taxes, and then I would take the 80%. And so I was like, cool, total 20%, this much taxes, 80%. That 80% is now my 100. So I took that 100%. I was like, cool, 10% goes to my emergency fund, 10% goes to and it like, then it funneled its way down. But now I have an automated funnel. I could just put the total and it'll tell me the math. Thank you, AI. Thank you, Notion. Thank you, formulas. But I used to actually write it out. And I think that the benefit at the time was that I was seeing where every single dollar went, because I would make the money by sweeping the floors, take the check off the counter. So I literally like transferred time and energy for this check, put that check into the bank account, and then hand wrote where every dollar was going. And I think that at the time gave me more control and understanding. And I think people get away from that with automatic check deposits, automatic payments on, this, that, and the other. It's just everything's automatic. So they're hoping there's enough money in there.
Exactly. I have to tell you, that is the number one thing. We do a lot, but that is the number one thing that my clients struggle with at first is they'll tell me, hey, I don't have enough money to save for my future. I don't have enough money to put life insurance for my family. I don't have enough money to ever retire. Okay, so let's start with the budget. And that's how we walk through things. I'll tell you, one of my favorite clients, her husband, it was very tragic. Her husband passed away and left a little bit of life insurance behind, which meant that she had more money than she ever had before.
Yeah.
And this was before we started working together. But so we went through our analysis, our budget, for lack of a better word. And it was just writing down every single thing she's spending money on for 1 month. This mom, now single mom, was spending $3,000 a month on Grubhub.
Oh.
And she had no idea, not a clue. And I know that all of us are like in Judgment City right now, but think about it. That's just $100 a day or so.
Yeah.
And so if you think of it through the perspective of someone trying to save time or that's stressed or doesn't want to, I mean, maybe your number is not 3,000, but I bet it's higher than you'd like to admit, because $20 here for a coffee and a sandwich, $50 here for lunch with a friend, maybe a couple bucks here for a cocktail, and then maybe we order delivery at night, or maybe we go out or go through the drive-through. It adds up. And if we don't sit down and do what Jayna's doing, I've done it way too many times. Just go through that bank statement, transfer it either on a piece of paper or in an Excel sheet, what have you. Just see exactly how much are you spending on things that don't matter, that like literally don't matter, but are completely changing the trajectory of your future. Yeah. Or trajectory. I mean, what could be more important than peace of mind and happiness? It's certainly not Amazon's buy now with one click on some like cool gel nail polish, which I'm totally guilty of. But like, how often are you doing that? I love your step-by-step, feel the pain almost, right? It's like tracking for a diet. I had a trainer say, you have to write down every single thing you put in your mouth. Yep. Well, shoot, I just didn't want to write chips down anymore. So I stopped eating chips. Well, how many times are you going to say that you bought that subscription box? Or how many times do you want to say that you did that Amazon order when you didn't actually need it? Like in next month, it doesn't even matter.
There's also a layer of like what do you prioritize? What are your values? What is important to you? Because we could say it's not important, but to that person, it may be a value. It may be something they're getting something from, might be a secondary gain that's keeping them in a bad problem they actually don't want. But I think about, we had a conversation about a week or so ago, and I was going through something, and I was like, you know what? I give it up to you, Julie. You tell me what to do. And I was like, oh, here's my problem. I live in Florida, and I have a girlfriend in California who's coming up on a 40th birthday. And do I pay, splurge, spend money to get on a flight at basically get up at 2 a.m. in the morning to jump on a 5 a.m. flight to get over to California to be there for like 6 hours to then get back on a flight, come all the way back, literally traveling all day just to go to this birthday? And you just looked at me and said, is it about the money? And I was like, no. And then you were just like, okay, cool. And like, I don't know exactly how you said it or what you said, but you had said something and got to the core of something that's been a problem of mine for a very long time. And you don't know me very well, but you got right in there and you were just like, like, I don't know how you said it, but it was something about like, how important would it be to you if someone showed up for you? And I was just like, fuck, because I have had on repeat, my birthday's in December. So it's one of those like, I have a Christmas party. Apparently, every day of all of December is always Christmas parties. And I just wish I was a June baby, for goodness sakes. But you got to the core of the fact that, like, one thing I admire about the closest people to me is that they show up.
Mm-hmm.
How could I be someone who does not show up for someone else because I'm going to allow the money to get in the way when the money really isn't even a fucking problem? Because I found it, Julie. I found the money that I needed to make this happen. And it was all because of priorities. And it was all there. And it was just like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. Like, it was right there in front of me, but I just need to shift my priorities. And the moment that I shifted my perspective and my priorities, the money just found its way. And I will guarantee, I'm going to call this right now. I'm going to speak this into my world. I guarantee there's someone or something that I'm going to meet or experience either on a flight or at the party or at the house or at the grocery store or whatever. I'm going to meet someone or something on this trip that is going to impact my life tremendously. And even if I don't, I'm going to impact my friend's life tremendously by her always thinking back to her 40th birthday and how her friend flew across the country just to be with her for a few hours.
Yes.
And like that. And so priorities, like if you want to invest in the course or the coach or the thing, like, you have the money, it is there, you're just investing it in other areas. So just like zhuzh it around a little bit, make your priorities right, and like you will find it because it was there.
Yes. First of all, I love that memory so much because I remember thinking, like, what a cool conversation to have. Like, I know we're not super close, but I am all in on this kind of stuff. Like, let's talk it out. But it's so true. And I'll tell you, I literally just got off another Zoom call with a gal, very successful insurance agent. It has like land and all the things. And she was telling me, she's like, I stopped getting my lashes done because I feel really guilty about it. And I'm like, well, is it a priority to you? Like, and she's like, it used to be, but I want to buy a hotel more.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, gangster. Exactly. So what you're saying is so important. It's not for me to judge because everyone says don't get Starbucks, don't eat out, don't do X, Y, and Z. The truth is there's so many money holes that it's not for me to decide. It's not for Jayna to decide. It's for us to work on our own personal finances and just shed light. So if we know exactly where every single dollar is going, you can do the girlfriend trip for the 40th birthday, like, and you can go guilt-free versus like, oh, I put it on a credit card, I'm going to be paying it off. My spouse is going to get so mad. Like, oh my God. No, it's part of the plan, not despite it.
Yeah. And I look at it too as like, how do I know, Jayna? How do I know, Julie? How do I know that this is the right move or not? Like, it could have very well been something that I sink money into and get nothing out of, and then it puts me in debt and it's spiral, right? Spirals go up and down.
Yeah.
I look at it as like, do I get energized by thinking about the idea of doing it? Yes, then that means me actually doing it is going to raise my frequency. So for me, going to Starbucks and paying a bunch of money for a fancified coffee does not make me excited. Does it? I drink black coffee every day. So it's, to me, it's like, why? I drink it for like the function of it, not like the taste. So
Right.
I don't see value in that at all. But if you take me to a camera store, you will not get me out for under a couple $100, right? Because to me, spending money on tech, spending money on microphones and cameras and things like that, because I get to then capture these experiences. So experiences are meaningful to me. I get to capture connections. Connections are extremely important to me. And I don't know how long I'm going to have people in my life. Who knows? If I fly across the country, I'm bringing my big camera, my big lens, my video. I said, girl, if you're going, you're going to bring the mic and you're going to walk around and interview people at this birthday party and say something to the birthday girl. You're going to get pictures of the birthday girl that are so good, that are professional looking photos. You're going to send it to her. If you're going to go, you're going to go. And the reason that I get to go and be that person is like, that's me just being me. Like, I'm not like doing extra. People think it's, oh, you're trying to, no, I'm just allowing myself the ability to go and just be me. Cause I know me going and being the photo, the creative, the person that's like doing that, it's going to allow me to be at my highest frequency, be the most present, have the most fun, be the most light. And that's where we start to attract opportunities. That's where we live in abundance. That's flow state, like you were talking about. And that's all just permission based. And so it all came from one little conversation between the two of us. And it's going to turn into all this amazing stuff. And I'm going to come back and be like, Julie, thank you. Thank you so
I
much.
need a copy of all the pictures and all the happiness that you captured. I need detailed play by play girl
Yes.
chat.
Yes.
Okay, speaking of birthdays, when's your birthday?
December 9th.
That's not even actual like Christmas party season. We got to change everyone's
You
mindset.
tell me how. Maybe I'm just not a great promoter of my own self, which has also been a theme in my life. So that's probably what it is. So I promote other people really well. So it's like I can get a billion people to go to someone else's party, but like myself, so we'll just.
That's
I will
something
say
I
like
think we all are working on. It's fine to like gush on others and be like, "Oh, you got to support them," and then me, I'm like, "It's okay if you don't come. Like, it's not going to be anything anyways. Like, no worries."
the birthday party I had the most people at was a surprise birthday because someone else put it together for me. I'm like, my partner's always like, "Oh, but you had that one." I'm like, "Yeah, the one you put together." You asked people, got people come over, but it's otherwise. I think I always love to tell the story about how like my 30th birthday, it was like, oh, it's 30. We're gonna do the dirty 30, do the whole thing, make it a. I paid for a DJ. I paid for 2 samba dancers. I paid for a photographer, videographer. Like we had it all here, all the things. Like the house, we decked it out, we lit it up. It was it. And one person came. Everybody else who was there was paid to be there. So one person came, and so we danced the night away. I tell you, the samba dancers tonight, because I used to go to samba classes. One of them was my instructor. So it's like we just danced all night, and that's all I wanted. Honestly, I was kind of glad there were less people because I had more room to dance. But like, I'm just dancing. The DJ's playing whatever I want. I had the most fun. And then at the end, one of the ladies owns the samba dance company, she's been doing this. She's what now? She's like 54, 55, 56, somewhere in that range. Looks like she's 22. She's just fit and amazing. And she comes to me and she says, Jayna, this is the most fun I've ever had at a birthday before. And this is a woman who works birthdays and weddings for a living and has done this for like 20 years. And she's like, this is the most fun I've ever had. And it's because all we did was dance. There wasn't food and there weren't all the interruptions. And so all that to say, like, if you are looking for like, is this the thing? Yes, no, whatever. If it's going to raise your frequency, do it, because raising your frequency is going to attract more of what is a good match for you. You're just going to attract more of whatever lights you up. Right. And so if it lights you up, like I know the idea of going to California, hanging out with cool people, having this fun day, creating content along the way, meeting random people at 5 a.m. and midnight flights. I don't know who flies these kind of flights, so it's going to be a bunch of weirdos just like me. So but it's going to light me up. And it's kind of like sports cars don't do nothing for me. They don't do anything for me. But people spend millions and millions and millions of dollars every single year on sports cars because that lights them up.
Right.
So it's like, stop looking on social media and thinking, well, so and so got this car and posted about it and they got this following and they look happy. So if you build your life and your happiness around what looks like happiness from the outside of someone else, I guarantee you will be disappointed because that person's probably not actually happy.
Well, Ian, let's play along and say that they are happy. You just said that sports cars don't make you happy. So comparing their success or their passions to yours in itself is crazy. I mean, You love to samba dance. I bet some people hate samba dancing. There might be crazy, but I bet that they do. So maybe they're like, well, that's not my thing. Yeah, but maybe yoga is your thing, or maybe pottery is your thing. It's about finding your thing, not comparing.
Yeah.
I have to add this. So I literally just wrote this chapter in my book the other night.
Yes.
And it was talking about finding your dreams, finding your why. What does that even look like? And I think a lot of people, I don't know, maybe I'm projecting, but maybe some people are like, that's nice, Jayna and Julie. I can't, like, physically could not pull off going to LA for the weekend, flying across the country. Look,
Yeah.
just use that example. Maybe, maybe not. But what I've found is that most people don't even take the first step of figuring out, okay, maybe I can't, but if I could, how would I do it?
Mm-hmm.
And you can apply that to every single part of your life. Okay, maybe I can't leave my 9 to 5 job now to create my dream career. Maybe you can't. But if you could, what would be the first step? Go figure it out.
Yeah.
And like the example I use in my book is I had a client that was talking about a dream trip to Mexico, but she didn't know what time of year she wanted to go. She didn't know how much tickets cost. She didn't know what city she was going to go to. None of these things. And I'm like, okay, do you know where Mexico is on a map? Let's start there. Okay, we established that. Well, let's figure out how much are tickets. Like, what would you want to do on this vacation? Do you want to sit there and drink pina coladas, or do you want to ride camels? Because, like, sky's the limit. Well, once you know that, you can kind of start planning accordingly. And I think you'll start to find resources, inspiration, what you do want, what you don't want. But we don't know because it's just this distant thing off in the future that you might do sometime. Sorry, newsflash, no, you won't. If you're not careful, you will wake up at 96 years old and going, oh my gosh, I literally don't have the time anymore to go and see all the places and do all the things I wanted to do in my life.
Yeah. It's so true. It's like before I ran my first retreat, I told myself often, I don't have what it takes to run a retreat.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until one day when my partner looked at me and said, oh my gosh, we have not booked our holiday this year. And we have Hilton, unfortunately, this is not a good thing. And we have Hilton Grand Vacation points, and we have to use them every year, else they
Yeah.
expire. It like forces you into these vacations. So we had a bunch of points and they were gonna expire. And he just looked like in a ridiculous amount of points, Julie, like nothing that we could ever use in the allotted time that we had. And he just looked at me and he's like, how are we gonna use these? You need to like run a retreat or something. And I was
How
like,
cool.
what a great idea. Would you really let me do that? And he's like, yeah, I mean, they're going to expire anyway. So you might as well just use them and rent as many rooms as you can, put people in those rooms and run a retreat. 3 months later, I was running a retreat. And over across the 3 months, it was like, oh, well, if I did that, what rooms would I get?
Mhm.
And I knew the hotel well enough to know, like, well, these are big enough for that. And so I started looking online. I'm like, well, if I did, how many points would that be? Okay, cool. And then the points, I was like, well, if I did that, how many days would this need to be? Okay, well, if it was that many days, okay, cool. I get this many rooms for that many people for this many days. Okay, well, then what will we do? Like, what's the purpose? And then it went from like, what's the purpose of this event to what's the purpose of each day to how are these going to play together to what's to women actually coming and walking away with a full-blown transformation, all because he looked at me and said, I think you should run a retreat with this. And at first it was, well, I can't do that. And then it was, yes, you fucking can. Because these opportunities don't present themselves if you don't already have the tools. Otherwise, you wouldn't recognize the opportunity. It
Yeah.
came up for me because what's meant for me will be, Julie. You're going to hear that so much from me this
I
year.
love it. I love it.
It's so true, though. And it's like, but I'm so grateful that he said that. And it was probably the toughest 3 months because I did nothing but recluse myself and just work on these and like build every aspect of this live event by myself, and then brought in a team at the last minute, taught them the things and let them help me run it. And
Cool.
if you would have told me, a year ago that I would be doing this, I'd be like, no. I mean, yeah, I've run many live events in the past, but I've always been doing it with other people, like doing it on my own, all of it from A to Z, planning it all out. I had never done that. And I was like, that seems like Mount Everest. Now I look at it and go, it was a molehill, Jayna. You were just looking from the wrong angle. Like, it really wasn't Mount Everest. It's like, yeah. So I think people, you're so right. Is like, just start doing something. And I like to tell my clients a lot of times I have like these common activities I go back to because they work. And one of them is, it's a journal prompt, 2 words, what if?
Mm.
Fill in the blank. And I've heard therapists before say you should take those words out of your language. Don't ever say what if, because they're so used to being in the world of therapy where people associate what if to
Anxiety, negative thoughts.
yes, yeah, and specifically intrusive thoughts. And
Mhm.
right, and so they're like, well, what if this and what if that, and like, and then they downward spiral. And so I teach my people often, like, yeah, you very much can downward spiral with this question. You have to be very careful. It's a very powerful question, right? We don't remove powerful things from our lives, we just learn how to leverage them, right? So how do we leverage what if? Well, we spiral up. So what if Oprah reached out to me and said, hey, I want to do a collaboration? What would I do? What
First
if?
off, fall over,
Yeah,
then call Julie, and then figure it out.
First off, busted from pipes and just sweat from my pits. Like, it's like, so, but those are the things. It's like, okay, well, what if we had a piece of land and I built a retreat center? What if and then you end up buying the land and now you're like, oh, what if I clean this up and I put a pool over here? Like, it's like you don't know until you get there. And it's kind of like I did a breakthrough session a week ago with a client, which is like a full day with me. It's full 12 hours. He got through it in 9, actually. So he was very fast. But in it, at the beginning, throughout the whole thing, I really remind you we're here to shift an identity, right? Because everybody wants to start with the problems. It's like we can start with the problems and work our way in, but why? Why not go easier and just shift your identity and all the problems go away too? So he's having a really hard time identifying the identity he's shifting to, which most people have this problem. It's hard to see when you're still in the problem box. You're like in the problem box and you're like, I don't know who I'm becoming, Jayna. What do you mean? And I found that by the end of the session, this is the ninth hour, we're sitting here and we're creating his future. We're casting his vision for his future. And I sit down, I'm like, this is how we do SMART goals here. It's a little bit different. And you're going to write this and you're going to do this. And I walked him through it. And I'm like, okay, there's no time. I'm just going to put like music on. I'll do my thing. He took 12 minutes to write. But before he started to write, he said, I don't know that I'm going to get very much. Like, I don't know that it's going to be very good. And I was like, don't doubt yourself. Just write. Like, whatever comes out, comes out. He read me one of the most defined, one of the best SMART goals ever. And midway through it, he shifted his identity because he was referring to himself as a video editor and a content creator. And in it, he refers to himself as a creative director.
Wow.
Talk about a shift. Because imagine how much you pay a content creator and how much you pay a creative director.
Yes.
How much authority a content creator has versus a creative director. And he was like, I was like, where'd that come from? He goes, I don't know. I just kind of came up and it channeled through me. I was like, interesting how that happens when you've released all your blocks and your old stories about yourself and you allow yourself to open yourself up to potentially becoming someone new. And it's like, allow the blocks to go, but we can't see it until you're on the other side of the healing. And often the healing portion is very confusing because you're like in it, right? You're in the darkness of the tunnel.
Something that just like popped into my head, and I feel like when it does that, and doing a podcast, you're supposed to share or think about it. But my husband Dan, he's freaking remarkable, and he's helped me walk through so many intrusive thoughts, so many exciting things. But what's interesting, this what if statement, I forgot about it, to be honest. And currently I'm in a state where it is what if, like Dan and I, what if we bought a piece of land? It was so weird. The day that you bought your land and showed it on Instagram, I was literally just looking at land for sale here in Utah today. Like crazy. But I'm like, man, I could actually buy that land by the end of the year. It's not like 5 or 6 years later, What if we were to have couples retreats? What if we were to have this? And you actually start looking through it through that lens. It's pretty freaking incredible. On the other side, and I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor, I'm not licensed in any of those things. So just take it for I've been there advice. The what if through like kind of the bad stuff too, you can kind of get down to you're making it bigger than it needs to be.
Yes.
And even really bad stuff. I had a really bad relationship. It was toxic. It was all the things. And I was physically afraid of him. So my thought was, what if he shows up in my new life? Like, what if he comes and tries to hurt me? Well, honestly, I like in my anxiety world, I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Okay, well, really, A through B, what would you do? And I started putting in little support systems to myself.
Mhm.
Okay, fine, start carrying mace. I don't know, get to the gym so you feel stronger so you could fight them off. Okay, how about you, maybe Dan drives me to work for a little bit. Like, it doesn't have to always be like I'm just here in today's current state and I'm not going to think about the future. I'm not going to think about the past because that's the healthiest thing to do. Well, what if we just actually talked through some of those thoughts, good and bad,
Yeah.
so that you can like be eased versus all this kind of crazy that's in our brain sometimes. It feels like a tornado. I don't think it's the worst of things to think about.
100%. I've been in those shoes almost like that. We have so much in common, Julie. So it's oddly satisfying to hear your stories, because I had an ex in the past who had abused me pretty severely, and it was very triggering anytime I would see a vehicle that was the same make and model as his vehicle, because I knew he lived in the same city. And so I'll drive around and I used to see it and it'd trigger me. I'd like speed to get on another road to get away. Is he following me? I was like, they turn the same direction. It's him. It's not. It's my
Yeah.
mind making these crazy stories because my nervous system didn't feel safe.
Right.
And then years pass, I'm doing the work. I'm doing the work, like the deep stuff. And I was like sweat lodge and like, doing all the things. Right. So I got heard from him one day. He reached out and he said, "Hey, I am in AA and I have a dog that I need help taking care of." And I said, "Nope. And I have a few things to tell you." And he
Mhm.
was like, "Oh." And I said, "You don't scare me anymore. You do not have any power over me. You don't." And I just fucking let it out. And I was just like,
Go
I'm
girl.
taking all of this back, like da 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 da, all these things. And I just like voiced it out. It was felt really good. And then, it's just voicing it out. At the time, it didn't feel like much outside of like, cool, I got to say my piece. That's it. I thought that was it. Well, a couple months passed and my brother and sister-in-law went to go move out of Florida to move to Illinois. And it was like our last family get together. Well, my sister-in-law picks a local, like a brewery, something like that locally. And I went to it. Well, I thought I went to it. I went to the wrong place. And I'm always early, almost always early to everything. Early is on time, on time's late. So I get there, I'm sitting in the parking lot only to realize, oh, this isn't the right place. Oh no, now I'm scrambling. So I get to this new location about 2 minutes late. So everyone else is already inside. I pull in my car, I sit and I park. And just as I hit park in my car, I see this person walking. And about 50 feet from me, off to the left, tattoos that I will never forget. I see. And I'm like, oh, that's my ex abuser. Okay. I'm calm. I'm like not rattled. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, oh, he looks healthy. Obviously, he has a job, right? He has a shirt on for the same restaurant I'm about to go in. And then my mind, for a split second, said, did he see my family walk in the door? Is he going to go get a gun?
Mm.
Is he going to come back and hurt us? Right? I had that moment. And then I said, that I am not going to let this happen again. Will not allow myself to spiral that way. And so I flipped my script, got out of my car, walked in with shoulders back, held high, and had the greatest time with my family. And that was it. And that was the last opportunity. And it gave me the blessing of being able to recognize that he no longer has any energetic power over me at all. Because
Yes.
I was able to hold that groundedness, even though someone who's done horrible things to me was in my physical presence.
Yeah.
Like most people, very spiteful, probably would have like turned the car on and driven right through him. Not me. I was like, you know what? He's caused his own suffering.
Yeah.
He is still suffering in so many ways, and it is not for me to do. So it's like in that moment, I got to say, you know what? I forgive you. Please forgive me. That was it. And I energetically cut that cord, and that was the end. And it kept coming up though. Even though my energetic cord with him was cut, I still had other experiences in my past that made me not feel safe.
Mm.
And so fast forward all the way to just a couple months ago in April, speaking on a stage, I lost a friend to a very freak thing. It was bringing up a lot of wounds for me. And then I'm on a mastermind call with someone who's highly energetic. He doesn't like tell people, but I can feel it. I was literally buzzing from the moment we got on the call. I'm like, oh my gosh. And at the end, it's the last 10 minutes of the call. And he's like, anyone have any questions? And I'm like, me. So I said to him, I said, hey, Brian, we had a conversation a couple weeks ago live at the event we both spoke at. He's like, yep, I remember. And I said, and you told me that I'm carrying some armor. armor from made of anger. And I've been really trying to work through that. And I said, but I have a question. He's like, yeah, what's that? I said, how am I supposed to feel safe in a world that continues to show me that I'm not safe?
Mm.
And he was like, oh shit. He's like, well, I know your story, knew enough about my sexual abuse in the past to know like I had a hard story. And he's like, I get where you're coming from. And I don't even remember what he said. What I know he said was, you know that how that where that feels in the you feel that in the body, right? And I immediately was like, yep, it's right there. Like I could feel it. And he
Yeah.
goes, cool, tune into that. And I boop, my eyes went shut because I just that's how I do it. And so I shut my eyes and I'm tuning in. He goes, you go to the very first moment you ever felt that in your body. And shoo, I just went right back. And this is exactly what I do with people too, but it just because it's the work I do with others, I finally had someone else who was able to hold that frame for me
Sure.
in a powerful enough way with the belief system necessary to be able to make the change happen. And in that moment, I was brought back to a memory at 3 of being sexually abused in church. And I was like, oh, that answers a lot for me. And it also brought up a lot for me. And it was like, okay, call's done. Boop. And it was like, and so my girlfriend on the call calls over. She's like, are you okay? That was a lot. And I was like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
good. So since then, I've been processing. And one thing that hit me more recently was I first was processing safety externally, right? Cool. I am a concealed carry weapon user. Like I know how to use weapons. I am very much self-defense capable. I am, I've gone through I live in a gated community. Like we've gone through all these external means to help me feel safe, and I'm still not feeling safe. Right.
Right.
So then I was like, cool, layer 2, dimension 2 of safety was internal. I was like, oh, well, in my mind, I can always be safe. Right.
Mhm.
Like, so you can put me in a jail cell. I have my own mind. I will be safe. Right. I can be safe here. And then I started to recognize that sometimes I can't control not safe thoughts because they can just incessantly get their way in there. And then that's when I got hit with the third level of safety, which was more of a eternal safety because it came through me meditating on I am safe
Mm.
and inflecting on the different 3 words. Not I am safe. I am safe. And the moment I recognize that it's not about thinking that I'm safe or feeling that I'm safe, it's about actually vibrating at the frequency of being safe. And when I embody safety, my life then reflects back more safety. And I was like, oh, that had nothing to do with anybody outside of me. I was continually being abused because I'm showing up as the victim. And so I'm getting a reality that projects the victim. And
Yes.
now I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm finally in this space where I'm able to hold this level of safety no matter where I am, because I know that it comes down to a choice that I am safe. So it's like, cool. And
Oof.
I still a little bit mind blown wrapping my head around it, but like, just thought I'd bring that up because it felt like the right time.
Absolutely. Jayna, thank you so much for sharing with me, with us, whoever we choose to share this with. That is power. And I saw this one time, it said your story will be someone else's survival guide.
Ooh.
And I am confident that that is the case for your story. Absolutely. So thank you for sharing that and the how to behind it. Because I think perhaps a lot of people will be not even in phase 1 yet. And they're like, how do I get through this thing? And then they'll hear your phase 1 and then they'll get to phase 2. And then they're like, I've done all the work. What the heck? And that's where it'll finally click for, even if it just clicks for one other person, it'll
Yeah.
change their life. So thank you for sharing, Jayna.
It's the embodiment of it. Allow yourself to actually get into the feeling, which is why I do a lot of movement based stuff. So you're right. I mean, might seem a little weird when I dance around in blow up costumes, but there's healing happening behind those blow up ears and eyes. there's, there's healing happening. Well, this has been great. I really enjoyed this episode of what we are calling Off the Record, Real Talk for Regulated Leaders. It's really just conversations with us. I enjoyed this conversation with you, Julie. I feel like whoever tunes in for this is really going to get some gold out of this. So,
Thank you for having me, Jayna.
yeah, you guys tune in for the next one, and we'll definitely keep dropping gems.